I'm with Bellator play-by-play announcer Sean Wheelock. Sean, kind of a dud of a card, I thought. Unfortunately, you had the short stoppage, then you had Thiago Santos with the low blow there in the heavyweight final. What's your thoughts on the close to season 5?
You know, honestly, I was really happy with the card, including the undercard, top to bottom. I thought Patricky Pitbull looked absolutely phenomenal. I've been a big Kurt Pellegrino fan for a long time, and honestly, as a commentator, it's my honor I got to call what it looks like is his last fight, and I think it's Bellator's honor that Pellegrino ends his great career in the Bellator cage. He protested the stoppage. It was very close. It's a difficult call, but then he seemed very gracious at the end. The heavyweight final, absolutely bizarre. Thiago Santos, I don't know what he was doing. It's one thing if you're in a clinch and you're going to throw a knee and you catch somebody low. That's happened to every fighter in their life, either in a fight or in training. Santos, that kick was straight down the middle. That was route 1 on that kick. I think, honestly, a no contest is a good call. I was a pro boxing referee for a long time. I just renewed my Kansas license, so I'll speak to you now as a commentator from as a referee's perspective. I think that's a no contest. Clearly, I think that is a foul. I think it would warrant a 1-point deduction if the fight continued. Saying that, however, it's the first foul of the fight. There was no other warning. It's very difficult, unless it's something horrible like an ear bite or something, to disqualify a fighter on one flagrant illegal action. I think a no contest is the right call, and well, we'll get a bonus season 5 fight in season 6 next year.
That was good. Next thing I was going to allude to is I mean, me personally, I would rather see a no contest than have a DQ for a guy to win a tournament final. But I guess we get a bonus fight. We wait till the next season. So, who did you like though over in that fight? Did you favor Santos or did you favor Brindle?
I really thought it came down to who could exert their game plan. If it was kept standing, then I thought that it was probably going to be a knockout win for Eric Brindle. If it went to the ground, I thought Thiago Santos would probably submit him. Early in that fight, before the no contest, 2 takedowns for Thiago Santos. Brindle, he certainly wasn't shy about it. He said, I am weak on the ground. I'm not going to play on the ground. I have to keep it standing. In the rematch, it'll be just like this first fight, who can exert their will. But I think Thiago Santos is going to be embarrassed because probably to that point, he was winning the fight. He had 2 takedowns. Why he would not just dive in against Eric Brindle, why he would do that kick, I don't know what he was thinking. He's not a dirty fighter. He's a very, very nice guy. I just think maybe he just sort of lost it in the moment.
Yeah, momentary lapse of reason. That's what I thought seeing it. But then, I mean, you heard all the oohs and ahs every time they went to the replay.
It was brutal. It really was. It's not something that you want to see happen, and it's tough to defend. Thiago Santos afterwards was trying to explain through Portuguese, which I don't know if it got through to anybody here in New Jersey in the Athletic Commission, what he was doing. You can't defend that. Again, it's disappointing. I think a no contest is the right decision.
So we're back in press row, and all of us are like, when's the last time a kick to the groin went to full 5? Everyone's just going on, what's going to happen here? What's going to happen? But all right, but the fight of the night obviously would be the bantamweight final with Eduardo Dantas and Lexis Villa. Do you think Dantas has a good shot against Zach von Sides Makovsky?
It's very interesting because Makovsky uses his wrestling so much more than Villa, which is interesting because Villa, you know, was a bronze medalist for Cuba in freestyle wrestling at the 1996 Summer Olympics. Makovsky was a very good Division I wrestler at Drexel, but he never had that level at the international stage. And yet in MMA, Makovsky really uses his takedowns. He uses his wrestling. It's going to be, I think, a lot on the ground, whereas largely Villa Dantas was on the feet. I think it's going to be Makovsky's wrestling and ground and pound and his takedowns versus Dantas' jiu-jitsu. He is a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. His submission game, it's really intriguing in the matchup.
Yeah, he has his explosive takedowns and his flying knees, Dantas, and it's going to be interesting to see how the short height of Makovsky. You see in the post-fight with Jimmy in the ring with him and standing on a stool. So I think that would be really interesting to see, almost kind of like a Pat Barry, Stefan Struve kind of height advantage for Dantas.
Yeah, Dantas is listed at 5'7". In that fight, Villa was listed at 5'4", Dantas at 5'7". I think they were wrong on both ends. It looked like there was about a 6 or 7 inch differential. I'm not sure that Makovsky is any taller than Villa, maybe by an inch, but Dantas, he's 22. I think they measured his height when he was about 15. He looks a lot taller than 5'7" to me.
And your thoughts on Season 5 as a whole and Bellator going forward with obviously Viacom and going to Spike in 2013 and your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I couldn't be more excited. I joined Bellator with Jimmy Smith. We came over from M1, Bellator 13, April of last year, the start of Season 2, and the way that this company has grown, the way our broadcasts have grown, the fact that now we're owned by Viacom and yet Bjorn Rebney, our founder and CEO, is still in place. Tim Danaher, our outstanding Chief Operating Officer, is still in place. We're going to Spike. We know that that's done. We've had the prelims, all of Season 5 on Spike.com, which has been huge. We get great promotion through Viacom, on MTV2, on Spike. I think we continue to grow. And, you know, I am a fan of mixed martial arts. I'm someone who's literally been a fan of this sport since what I believe to be day one, which is November 12th, 1993. My mom purchased for me UFC 1. I still have a VHS copy of that pay-per-view. Awesome. So I go back to the beginning. I'm a fan of MMA. And speaking not as the Bellator commentator, but purely as a fan, I will tell you that to have a rival to the UFC, to have another big company, the way when it was Pride in the UFC in the mid-2000s, it's great for the sport. I really hope that people out there who consider themselves MMA fans but are truly UFC fans will become fans of the sport. And as you're a fan of the sport, watch Bellator as well.
And lastly, and right behind you, I'm looking up, and it looks kind of odd to see a lightweight champ banner with Michael Chandler on it. And Eddie was here tonight, and I'm sure he probably was cringing at them doing the replay with the highlights from last week. But first to touch on that fight, I thought it was one of the greatest fights I've seen, probably one of the best in Bellator. And touch on that this is not going to be a rematch, probably Eddie, and what Bellator is based on is the tournament format, but Eddie going back into a lightweight tournament to have to go through everybody and then get another shot at the belt. Touch on that for us.
I think that's the beauty of Bellator Fighting Championships, really, that Eddie Alvarez, at the time, the only champion ever of Bellator at 155 pounds, but now he's treated like everybody else. Go back into the tournament, win 3 fights, and earn your world title shot. Because to give Eddie Alvarez a rematch when he did lose, there was no controversy, there was no low blow, there was no disqualification or no contest or sort of a murky gray area. He flat out lost in a tremendous fight where he could have flat out won multiple times. I think it would be disingenuous to really the philosophy of Bellator, where you earn your world title shot, to give him a rematch. Alvarez goes back in. He spoke to us on our internet broadcast on Spike.com and Bellator.com. He's ready to go back into the tournament. I'm sorry that so many people have come out really going against Eddie Alvarez, saying he was overrated. I don't think he was overrated at all. I think Michael Chandler was underrated. Michael Chandler fought a brilliant fight. Eddie Alvarez, maybe because he fought in Dream and he fought in Bellator, he's not been given the credit he deserves. I actually think when people step back maybe 5 months, 6 months down the road, they'll really gain respect for Eddie Alvarez. The way that he fought his heart out. They definitely have respect for Chandler, but to me, Eddie Alvarez losing that fight to Chandler did a lot more for his career than when he beat Pat Curran over 5 rounds. I think that was a really remarkable fight for him. He was disappointed in the fact that he lost, of course, but that he turned out tonight, that he drove in from Philadelphia and he's in the crowd. You know how many questions he's going to get. That shows the class of Eddie Alvarez.
Yeah, well, they say the mark of a champion, I mean, it's the old adage, the old cliche, is how he returns from a defeat. And I know there's always talk about Bellator, and there's the championship clause, and then when you're not holding a belt, you have different options, and that his contract might run out. But I think for him to even show to go back and start from square one would show the kind of heart and competitor he is, to go back into the tournament and have to go through, not just get a rematch because he's had the belt so long. And I think that's the mark of the kind of character that he displays.
And Eddie Alvarez, you know, he won the title by winning the Season 1 155-pound tournament. Won 3 fights, submitted Toby Amata in the final to become the first champion. So he's already won a tournament. And I think while he's disappointed he's no longer the champion, of course, he welcomes the fact to go back into a tournament, prove himself all over again, and earn that world title shot.
So your the biggest highlight of Season 5 and the biggest surprise of Season 5?
Well, without a doubt, it's the Chandler-Alvarez fight. And, you know, you're talking to a guy that did a lot of Midwest fights on regional TV. I was the final announcer in Pride. I did the Affliction pay-per-view. I've done some world feeds with Jimmy on Strike Force that aired in Europe and in Asia. Did 2 seasons of M1, 2 years of M1, in fact, with Jimmy. And I've been with Bellator now, concluding my 4th season, my 2nd year. I've seen a lot of fights. By my count, I think I've announced something like 1,100 pro MMA fights. Chandler Alvarez truly is the best fight that I've ever seen, at least as a commentator. And as a fan, I don't know that I've ever seen a better fight. It was phenomenal. My biggest surprise for me, I think, was probably Alexis Villa knocking out Joe Warren. I thought you have two guys who are world-class wrestlers. Here's Villa, who won a bronze medal for Cuba in the '96 Summer Olympics in freestyle. Here's Warren, who was a world champion in Greco in 2005. This is going to be on the mat, and Villa knocked Joe Warren unconscious. I was absolutely shocked on that. And if you go back, you listen to my commentary, you can tell that I am really shocked. I did not see that coming.
Yeah, and now what do you think about Warren having to defend the featherweight strap against going against Pat Coran, who's still been on the sidelines since he defeated Sandro?
It's really the character test for Joe Warren, because how do you come back from being knocked unconscious? You know, Joe Warren's only loss before that was in Dream against Bibiano Fernandez. It was a technical submission. He was caught in an armbar. He didn't tap. The referee stopped it. Joe Warren will still tell you to this day, I did not lose that fight. Against Villa, there's no way to spin it. Not only did he lose the fight, he was knocked cold. That's the character test for Joe Warren. If he is really the baddest man on the planet, like he proclaims, you have to come back. How do you deal with adversity? That will show the future of Joe Warren in Bellator and in MMA.
All right, well, thank you, Sean. I really appreciate it, and best of luck going forward, Season 6.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.